We're live. Okay, Chairman, we're now live. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I will start. Welcome to the virtual planning meeting of the North applications in the London Borough of Hillingdon. This is a virtual meeting and is also available simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. My name is Councillor Henry Higgins and I'm the chairman of this meeting. Online housekeeping first, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start, some important housekeeping. Please ensure your mobile phones are off or on silent. If wearing a headset, ensure your microphone is away from your mouth to avoid noise. Please keep your microphone muted when not speaking and then unmute to speak. Only one person may speak at the time, and as the chairman, I will call those to speak. Okay, we'll have an attendance roll call now. Councillor Morgan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dotts.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Haggart.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Kaufman.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Melvin.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm here, present.
Thank you very much. Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, good evening, Chairman. I'm present, and good evening all.
Good evening to you. Thank you. Councillor Singh.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Lovely to hear you. And Councillor Yarrow, welcome back.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Also, can I call the officers present indicating this meeting? Planning Officer James Wells. Fine, I can see you, don't worry. Head of Planning James Rogers.
I'm present, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Transport and Planning, Alan, we don't need, so he's not present at the moment. Democratic Service Officer Liz Penny.
Yes, Chairman, I'm present. And Alan Tilley has actually just joined us, I can see.
Okay, welcome, Alan.
Thank you very much. Apologies, Chairman.
That's my pleasure. Don't worry about that. And also Democratic Officers Steve Clark.
Present, Chairman.
Lovely to see you again. And our legal advisor is Glenn. Welcome, Glenn Egan.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present. Thank you.
Okay. In items of technical meeting control, if any councillor leaves the virtual meeting partway through for a period of time, i.e. lost connection, I will continue this meeting unless we're not quorum, which means less than 3 councillors. Okay. The agenda. Apologies for absence.
No apologies this evening, Chairman.
Declarations of interest before the meeting coming for us? No. Do we agree that the meetings of the last 2 meetings, actually, the 9th of December and the 14th of January? Yep, all agreed. Well done. Matters notified in advance of urgency. There are none. To confirm that public and private reports. Part 1 public reports of number 6 to
You're on mute, Henry.
I'll have to say all that again then. We've had apologies for absence. Did I do that?
Yes, we got, Chairman, we got as far as you were just saying the part 1 and part 2.
Oh, sorry, I must have actually hit a button by mistake. I'll remove the mouse away from me so it has a life of its own. Yeah, there's part 1's items are from 1 to 11, and part 2 items the stream will stop, and that's from part 12 to 14. We have petitions. We'll go straight to item 6, and will James, you take us out on this one, please?
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. This is item 625 Dean Road in Northwood. This slide shows the location of the site, and the following slides show the existing and proposed site plans and the elevation. So this is the lower ground floor plan, the ground floor plan and the first floor plan, and then the second floor plan or the roof plan. This is a CGI showing the elevation of the building, and then this is the proposed front elevation. These are colour plans showing the side elevations, excuse me, and then these are the same without the colour. There are then further details showing the approximate relative heights and positions of the proposed and existing buildings, and I'll just pause on this slide which shows indicatively the respective heights of the existing and proposed buildings. If I skip down some of the other information to the photographs, I'm not sure if you want to go through all the photographs, if members perhaps have reviewed the photographs already. Thank you.
James, if you just go through them relatively quickly, that'd be good, so that it's all quite transparent, please.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. The photographs are generally labelled, so this shows the fronts of 25 and 23 Dean Avenue, Dean Road, the properties opposite and around. This shows Tormead, the property to the west. And then I'm afraid some of the photos are a bit dark, but you can see they're labelled, and this shows the existing property at number 25. Skipping through those various views of, again, the rear of the existing property with Tormead to the left. I just go back, help members during the course of the rest of the presentation, perhaps the view of the proposed development in situ, if you're happy with that, Chairman. This application seeks planning consent for the demolition of the existing two-storey detached dwelling and the erection of a 2.5-storey building to provide 8 flats. The proposed building measures a maximum of 26.25 metres in width, 17.8 metres in depth, and 10.05 metres high to the top of the hipped roof, which is approximately half a metre higher than the existing property. In terms of various comments, and apologies, I skipped over something I meant to say, which is that members are aware there are petitions and objections, and Liz will read out representations from petitioners and the agents at the end of this presentation. Apologies. So if I just skip down, with regards to the proposed development, the conservation area has advised, the conservation officer has advised that with the use of high quality materials and good finishes, the proposal has the potential to enhance both the appearance of the site and the area of special local character. It's acknowledged that the proposed building will be wider and deeper than the existing, but it would be set back approximately 3.2 metres and 4.3 metres from the shared boundaries with numbers 25A and 27 respectively. Given the scale and design of the building, it is considered that the proposal would not be harmful to the street scene and the wider area of special local character. The layout also shows that the nearest house, the existing houses, would be sufficiently remote with a separation distance in excess of 21 metres. The highway officer has advised that in highway impact terms, there is no in principle objection to the revised access and internal road dimension and layout. The tree and landscape officer has similarly advised that they have no objection, as have the flood and water management team. Given the existing development on the site and the proposed design, it is considered the proposal would respect the character and appearance of the street scene and the area of special local character, and would not be detrimental to the amenity of the neighbouring occupiers. As I've said, no objections have been raised by the conservation, highways, trees and flood and water officers. The application is therefore recommended for approval. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, James. Before we go to questions, I'll go over to Liz. Would you like to give us the petitioners and representatives? And I think we have a ward councillor comment as well.
Yes, Chairman. On this item, we have something from the petitioner and something from the agent. Nothing from the ward councillor on this one. So I'll just start off with the petitioner's statement first of all. This is an objection to the development. We, the Northwood Residents and Dean Road Residents Associations, supported by a petition of local residents, strongly object to the proposed redevelopment of 25 Dean Road. The proposed development threatens the environment and future of the road. One only has to look at the total change to the environment of roads such as Eastbury and Ducks Hill to see what a change the introduction of bulky flats such as this can make to the existing environment and residents. This starts with a single planning approval. Approval of this development risks opening the floodgates to further opportunistic developers, changing Dean Road forever. It is within the committee's power today to stop that transformation before it starts. Specifically, we object for the following reasons. Dean Road has been designated an area of special local character since the 13th of November 1989. This means the character of the road should be respected. This proposed development does not reflect the character of the ASLC, which is of detached single-family dwellings, and sets an unacceptable precedent for further development. The design and absolute bulk does not harmonise with existing properties, and the proposed building is out of context with the other properties in the road. Policy DMHB5A. Within ASLCs, new development should reflect the character of the area and its layout. Alterations should respect the established scale, building lines, height, design and materials of the area. The intensification of the site to create a new build of 8 flats in a building that is bulky and constructed so close to both side boundaries fails to harmonise with the other properties in the ASLC, almost all of which are detached single-family houses. Those even approaching the size of the proposed development are well spaced out from the adjoining properties and not like this proposed development, with elevations very close to neighbouring properties, representing serious overdevelopment of the site, not respecting the current gaps between properties to the detriment of immediate neighbours and the local environment. Proposed parking is woefully insufficient. Dean Road has no pavement. The proposed increase in the number of vehicles will undoubtedly lead to regular parking in Dean Road itself, presenting a safety risk for pedestrians for residents and pedestrians, and cause an unacceptable increase in traffic, again out of character with an ASLC. The proposals mention meeting minimal standards, but in an area where the norm well exceeds the minimum, these proposals are woefully inadequate for the ASLC. The proposed property will have an adverse impact on adjoining properties. The site slopes down steeply towards Foxdale and Firs Walk. The proposed building will adversely impact the outlook and daylight for those properties and will also infringe the rights of existing residents by directly overlooking them, removing existing privacy for neighbouring plots. The developer's report clearly shows the position on the plot and bulk mean that daylight for several of the proposed rooms would be minimal. This cannot be a responsible way to develop. The property is next door to Tormead, a locally listed building, and the bulk and closeness of the boundary will have an adverse impact on that property. Policy DMH4I. The planning officer refers to the 10% flat redevelopment principle, but being an ASLC should override that. It should be noted that the applicant is the same as for 5 and 6 Firs Walk, where they seek to significantly increase the density of that site with a boundary to 25 Dean Road. This related proposal has been the subject of several rejections and appeals over several years. Together, these proposals represent a gross overdevelopment of what is a relatively small piece of land with a significant negative impact on all existing residents in this private road. The strain on existing services, especially water supply and drainage, which are beyond breaking point, will severely impact existing properties. We note that the applicant has been given the opportunity to amend and resubmit their plans several times during consultation without any involvement of those who have objected. This cannot be a fair process to manage contentious applications of this type, given the strength of local opposition evidenced by the petition. For the above reasons, we urge the committee to object to this opportunistic development, which threatens to irreversibly change this unique ASLC forever and adversely impact all existing residents, and vote to maintain the special character of this unique road for the future by refusing consent to these proposals. So, Chairman, that was the petitioner's statement. Would you like me to read the agent submission?
Please.
Yeah. Okay. So, from the agent, dear Chair and members, thank you for allowing me to submit a letter in support of the proposed residential scheme for 8 flats at 25 Dean Road, Northwood. My name is Mark Westcott, and I'm the planning agent acting on behalf of the applicant, Gavican Homes. The proposal put before you is policy compliant and has been reported by the case officer acceptable in planning terms. We have worked hard with officers for over a year in establishing an acceptable scheme. This started at the pre-application stage in late 2019 under the original proposal, against which major concerns were expressed by the conservation officer. These were based on the design and its relationship with the neighbouring locally listed building, Tormead, and the area of special landscape character. Gavican Homes noted these concerns and recognised the importance of good design in a sensitive context. Gavican Homes therefore took the step to commission a heritage specialist, Mr. Dorian Crone, who is a former Historic England inspector and trained architect. Mr. Crone worked with Gavican Homes design team through a second round of pre-application engagement and then in support of the planning application. The combined skill set of Gavican Homes team, together with officer engagement, enabled a nuanced design approach to be taken. This has led to a sympathetic and high-quality proposal, which primarily respects the historic setting of Tormead, introduces a new building that incorporates the existing building's arts and crafts appearance, whilst being of size that contributes positively to the Dean Road frontage, and creates a landscape regime that adds to the area's verdancy, a prominent characteristic of Dean Road, and enhances the ASLC context. These are significant outcomes that has led to no objection from the conservation officer. In fact, the officer commends the buildings stepping down to the sides and acknowledges that through the use of high quality materials and good finishes, the proposal has the potential to enhance the appearance of the site and its contribution to the ASLC and wider Northwood area. Design is a subjective matter, and therefore it is particularly noteworthy that we have achieved collective support from officers. In addition to the townscape and conservation contributions, a number of benefits will be delivered. These include better utilising the site by providing a net increase of 7 units, a mix of housing including family-sized accommodation and multi-aspect or south-facing units, which exceed minimum space standards, therefore providing excellent living conditions. Dean Road has the capacity to accommodate the proposal. When assessing the site at the outset, we were very much aware of policy DMH4 and concluded that the proposal would not result in more than 10% of the properties on Dean Road being redeveloped into flats. Only one other property, number 42, has been redeveloped into flats. The case officer arrives at the same conclusion. We are aware of local residents' concerns over the proposal and respond to some recurring issues. So firstly, impact on the character of the area and the streetscape. In addition to the 3 aforementioned design points, the building will be no further forward than the existing building, whereas the roof line will be the same height. The comparison plans submitted show this. The bulk and scale of the building has been reduced through the pre-application stage and is at a level whereby no undue harm will be caused. Overdevelopment and impact on neighbouring properties. The site is demonstrated to have sufficient capacity to accommodate the proposal. The parking and amenity provision complies with local standards, whereas all units sit on a southerly aspect, meaning they will receive plentiful daylight and sunlight. These are indicators of a site not being overdeveloped. The building footprint also sits well within the 45 degrees line of the neighbouring properties. The 45-degree rule is a key standard in protecting neighbours from amenity impacts such as overshadowing and loss of privacy. It should also be noted that the flank windows of the upper floors will be opaque, therefore removing the potential of overlooking. Likewise, the proposed boundary treatment will enable screening, therefore giving further amenity protection. With regards to traffic, 13 parking spaces are proposed, including blue badge, in brackets 2 spaces, and electric vehicle provision. The increase in traffic levels will be marginal. This conclusion is supported by the highway officer. And then regarding construction impact, construction works will be controlled by the imposition of a planning condition, see condition 13, requiring the approval of a construction management plan before works begin. Gavican Homes will also comply with other legislation relating to construction, see informative 3. The proposal is a very well designed scheme that has heeded the guidance of officers and responded to the sensitive context of the locally listed building and ASLC. The Council's officers concur with us that the scheme is policy compliant, which is underpinned by no objections from technical consultees. We therefore respectfully ask that planning permission be granted. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. That concludes the written submissions on this item.
Thank you. Very well done, Liz. That's very excellent. Before I go to officers, James, Head of Planning, Rogers, would like to come in. James?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment a bit on some of the points raised and add a couple of additional points to those that James raised in his presentation. As a committee, you often see proposals that are either poorly designed or the application itself is poorly prepared. This application is neither of those. The application's actually gone through quite a long journey, and as a result of that, it's actually a very well prepared submission. So we have comprehensive reports relating to surface water management, the partial basement in terms of the impacts of that, in terms of townscape visual assessment, heritage statement. There's a detailed daylight and sunlight report to address any possible concerns regarding neighbour impacts. There's an arboricultural impact assessment to deal with trees. So this application has all those reports that we don't always see on applications. And in terms of the design, your officers consider it's a very high quality design. In fact, I'd go as far as saying it's far superior to the many of the flatted developments that are referred to you as a planning committee, and that is sort of highlighted in the Conservation and Urban Design Officer's comments. And then I just wanted to say as a final point, obviously the residents did raise neighbour impacts, and I just wanted to clarify that the on the side elevations, those upper level rooms, they are not habitable rooms, therefore there is no problem having obscure glazing. That is conditioned, so there wouldn't be any overlooking problems from the proposals. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Jack. The first one I had up was Councillor Hagger.
Councillor Hagger, you're on mute at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. A good comprehensive report actually coming out here, and I just want to pick a few things on the report. Taking into account, I think the biggest thing is the impact that it's having on the road and the special local character, obviously. On page 23, we've got it, obviously it complies, you said, with the DMH4 and the 10%. But I don't know whether we can answer this question, but in there it tells us that there is one other building that's been converted to flats. The question that I have is, do we know how many flats that building is holding? And if we could answer that. The second question I have, I just wanted to just cover the drainage and to make sure that we have actually, we're quite happy with the drainage and we're quite happy that the road can cope with the amount of water flow going through. So they're my two things there that I'd like to ask. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hagger. James, which one of you, James, is?
after you, James, but I don't know how many flats is in number 42.
I might be able to help members. If you look at page 31, which at the back of the report, the location plan, you'll note that Tormey to the left, it says 1 to 5. That normally means that there's flats numbered 1 to 5. Now, I cannot say 100% that's the answer, but normally that would mean that there is 5 flats.
Actually, I'm pretty sure there are 5 flats there.
Thank you.
That is brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I also like to say it's quite a comprehensive report. However, I do have a few questions on this. I noticed that we're trying to agree here 3 2-bedroom flats and 5 3-bedroom flats. So it's a total of 8 flats. I've noticed in the report that this had come up before, page 15 of the report, relevant planning history, where back in 2019, they asked for 8 2-bedroom flats. Again, in February of last year, they asked for 8 2-bedroom flats. Can you tell me what the difference is between those applications and this one that we're looking at? That it seems that we've suddenly gone from 2-bedroom to 3 bedrooms. Knowing that this is in an area of special local character, I'm rather concerned that we're trying to bulk something up, especially as the report says it's a 2.5-story building, when in fact it's 4 floors of flats and not 2.5 floors. Thank you.
James?
Once again, if I can chip in first, I don't know what the changes are between the schemes referred to in the relevant planning history section. Sorry, I can't answer that question, Councillor.
Thank you. James?
James Roger he dropped out. He's just come back in again.
Okay, fine.
Chairman, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. James, do you want to pick up that?
Sorry, Chairman, I dropped out a few seconds, so you'll have to repeat the questions. I didn't catch it all.
I'll let Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're basically in a nutshell, we're looking at 3 lots of 2-bedroom and 5 lots of 3-bedroom flats, where previously it was 8 lots of 2 that were objected to. I'd like to know what the difference is in size between the 2 applications that were objected to and this one. And whilst our report says a 2.5-story building, it's actually 4 floors of apartments or flats, not 2.5. So, and knowing that this is in an area of special local character, I am rather concerned about it. Thank you.
Did you get that, James?
Yeah, what I was going to say is in the plan pack, page 124, there's an outline of each of the pre-application proposals. It shows the footprint. So you've got a green line and a red line. So the green one, you'll note it goes very close to one of the boundaries. So that was an issue. So it had to be brought back in off the boundaries. So one of the issues raised by petitioners was that the building's too close to the boundaries. So through the pre-application process, it's been moved off the boundaries sufficient distance in officer's opinion. And also, if on page 124, you'll see that it was slightly deeper in terms of the building mass towards the rear garden. So in effect, the building has got smaller through the pre-application process, and what was largely driving that was to overcome concerns from the council's conservation and urban design officer. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, James. I think that answers your questions, Councillor Morgan. Is that right?
That answers those questions, but I do have some other questions, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Can I just get, so there's got other people that are waiting. I'll come back to you if that's okay.
Okay. Yep.
Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Actually, most of it's been covered. But what I would like to say is that it's really nice to see a development like this that's got 3-bedroom properties instead of multiple 2s and 1s, which I am absolutely against, because they just don't serve the purpose. They don't serve the need that we have in the borough. Not so much in the north, maybe, but certainly in the south. So I'm quite pleased to see some 3 beds in this application. As I said, Chairman, the other stuff basically has been covered. So I'm quite happy with this report. I think it's definitely compliant and it's in policy. And I'm quite happy to move the officer's recommendations. I know there's others that want to come in, so I'll move the officer's recommendations for now. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, John. Okay, Councillor Morgan, you wanted to come back?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, it's just to do with the proposed second floor plan. We have 2 balconies up on this floor, out at the looking out on the back garden. Can we confirm that these balconies do not overlook the properties on either side of this building? The 25A, the one in the Firs, and I can't remember the name of the other road at the moment. But can we just confirm that there's no overlooking issue?
Is that the only question you have, or is there any other one?
No, that's it.
Thank you. James, which one of you wants to take it?
I can answer that one quickly, because page 131, the architect's drawn on the screens, which you see the letters OG next to them. So effectively, the design includes some screens that ensure that there is not overlooking.
Okay.
But it's page 131 in the plan pack. You're on the left hand, so on the right hand side of the top elevation and the left hand side of the bottom elevation, you'll see this bit marked OG, and that's the obscure glazed balcony screen, and that ensures there isn't overlooking.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Mr. Chairman. I'll second the proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morgan.
Chairman, I had a question.
Yes, I have. Yes, I know. Councillor Yarrow, please.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a comprehensive application, and also a very comprehensive officer's report. One thing was puzzling me, which was on pages 8 to 13. There are 13 conditions that have to be adhered to. Although we are approving, if we approve it tonight, those 13 have not yet been agreed, or some of them will have been agreed. Can the officers tell us how many have been agreed so far? And when would they expect to get all the agreements for this application?
James, would you like to pick that up, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor, I'm not too sure what you mean by being agreed. Many of the conditions are effectively compliance conditions, such as number 2, which requires the development to be carried out in accordance with the approved plans, and therefore that would cover Councillor Morgan's concerns about the possible overlooking from the balconies by ensuring that they would be screened in glass that was obscured. Most of the other conditions are what I would call a sort of a quality control condition to ensure that existing trees are retained, that new landscaping is high quality. I think, as James Roger has said, a lot of the information submitted with this application is high or good quality. The conditions are our way of ensuring that what's carried out on site is similarly high quality by the discharge of those conditions. So most of the conditions that require to be discharged, as I understand it, have not yet been dealt with.
Okay, thank you, James. Councillor Yarrow, do you want a further question, or are you okay?
Yeah, in particular, I'm looking at drainage one, where it says the details need to be provided on the drainage system. Now, one assumes this is quite critical in that area to stop flooding. I would have hoped they would have known the answer or the solution to the problem before we gave planning permission.
Yeah, James Rogers will come back on that.
Yeah, there's actually it's either 100 or 101 pages. There's a very comprehensive report that deals with the drainage issues with respect to this particular application. So, and I can assure members that the level of detail in that report far exceeds what we sometimes receive with initial applications. So I'm in a situation where I feel a lot more confident than perhaps sometimes I do on drainage matters. So in effect, as James Wells was saying, that the quality of the submissions with this application means effectively our conditions are more belt and braces, rather than us trying to, through the conditions, get lots of additional information we haven't received before. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you. I think that answers your question.
I'm happy with that, Jim.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it does.
Thank you very much, everybody. No one else wishes to speak?
Chairman, sorry, I think Councillor Hagger has raised her hand.
Yeah, Councillor Hagger.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Actually, Councillor Yarrow had asked my question, but I just want to secure that. It was with the drainage. I just wanted to check that comes and complies with, on page 22, where he's got the applicant has reviewed the drainage hierarchy and excluded alternative, and there's more preferable option. That's connected in with Councillor Yarrow's point that he brought up, because it does say approval to connect the foul sewer will need to be sought from Thames Water.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
As a requirement, in my experience, that's quite normal to deal with foul sewage.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kaufman, and then I'll wind this up.
Thank you, Chairman. As Councillor Oswald has mentioned, this far exceeds expectations as far as the design is concerned. It's a substantial building, but it looks to me on the plans as though they've done everything possible to make this a really good site plan and all the rest of it. So I'm quite happy with this. And reading number 10, the conclusions, it has everything in there that really does matter in regard this actual development. So I'm in favour of approving this as well. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Before we continue, I just want to raise a few points with officers, especially James. I hope you can answer these for me, James Rogers. Obviously it's the area special local character. I just want to make this quite clear to the petitions why flats are allowed in that area. Can you please update us on that? Obviously you've done the drainage report. I would, is there any way that we can make sure that we make that as a standard condition for any application that comes before us with these type of issues? Because it's an issue that councillors have always had with basements and stuff like that. Obviously the bulk is being signed off, and the 10% rule, that's for that road. How many more units can be allowed on that road before we say enough is enough? And the last thing is, you put a lot of good conditions there to tighten up, and I hope this is because I don't want them coming back 6 months later saying we want to put another flat in it or something like that. I'm hoping that we have actually made sure that retrospective is not going to be one of the issues that we have on this type of development, because it's such to a high standard. I don't want it then to be they're coming back to reduce it down. James, could you answer some of that for me, please?
Yeah, well, if I quickly mention your last point, because the application is so comprehensive with 100-page reports, if they are going to at a future date try to vary it, they're going to have to do all those reports and do everything again. And part of the advantage of the fact that there's been quite a journey on this application and the fact that it's had quite a lot of reductions in size is that if they do try and reel things back again, we've already been through what is and is not acceptable on this particular site. With respect to the issue about why would we allow flats in an area of special local character, the designation of area of special local character does not mean you can't allow flats. It effectively means that we have to consider whether a development respects, mainly in visual terms, the character of the area and whether it enhances that area. So effectively what the applicants had to do here is a very high quality flatted development to get a recommendation of approval. But we don't have a policy that says per se you cannot have flats in an area of special local character. In effect, any developer that wishes to, the bar is raised in very simple terms. In respect to the 10% rule, I don't know how many more developments would or would not tip us over the 10% rule, I'm afraid, Chairman. All I can say is that this proposal does not tip us over the 10% rule. But in reality, it's the quality of the scheme that would be required to get a planning consent that I guess if there's a reassurance, it would be that I would give to any local residents concerned that a precedent might be set. Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, you're on mute, Chairman.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Chair. James, about the report, about all the other additional reports we've had to make this get through for approval, did they come up with that, or did we request that? And if so,
no, so
with other developers.
No, so I realised you made a point referencing drainage and basements. So we required a detailed report that came out through our process, and I've told all the officers that whenever there are basements, we want the flood and water management officer to look closely at the proposals. And the effect of that is the flood and water management officer then inevitably asks for detailed reports. And I know the committee wants those detailed reports to be undertaken when there are basements. And in this particular case, there's a very detailed report, which was effectively the point I was keen to emphasise. Thank you, Chairman.
That's very good. Thank you, James. It's just to make sure that they actually come to us as a committee rather than saying they've been left to you and come back at a later date. I think the committee will feel a lot more comfortable approving those type of schemes in the future anyway. I think that's about it. I think I've given everybody the opportunity to speak. We'll go straight to the vote. Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Chairman. I support the officer recommendations.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hagar.
Yeah, I support officer's recommendations.
Councillor Kaufman.
Yes, Chairman, I support officers' recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Mr. Chairman, I seconded the proposal.
No, sorry, beg your, Councillor Melvin. Sorry.
Yes, I agree with the officer's report.
Councillor Morgan, you second it. Sorry about that. Councillor Oswald, you proposed. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chairman. I support the officer's recommendations.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Yarrow.
Support the officer's recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Liz. That's I make that all in for that one.
Yep, that's unanimous, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, so we'll go to the next item, which is item 7, which is 33 Gate Hill Road. James, would you like to take us out on this one, please?
Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, can everybody put their hands down as well, please?
Thank you, Chairman. This slide shows the, sorry. This slide shows the location of the site. Following slides show the existing and proposed site plans and elevations. So we have first the existing plans and existing elevations, other existing elevations, a block plan, proposed ground floor plan, and then proposed loft floor plan, roof plan, and proposed elevations. So members can see there's quite a significant change between what's proposed and the current appearance of the building. There are then photographs showing the existing building. I'll click through those fairly quickly. And then lastly, there is, this is a diagram submitted by petitioners who you will see from reviewing the report are similarly concerned about the extent of the proposed development. 5 objections were received together with a petition in objection containing 37 signatures. So if I click back to one of the proposed elevations before I go through the rest of the presentation. As members are aware, this application seeks consent for a part 2-storey, part single-storey extension and conversion of roof space to habitable use to include the retention of existing dormers and proposed dormers and roof lights. The resultant building would be significantly larger with a substantial crown roof section. The extensions would not be subordinate to the original house, and the result would be a substantial change with the form and design of the original building being largely lost. The conservation officer has advised that the design would erode the qualities of the original property, and as proposed, the officer considers that it would be unacceptable. Overall, it's considered that the proposed additions and alterations will have a detrimental impact on the original house and the street scene, the surrounding area, and on the area of special local character. For the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for refusal. Thank you, councillors. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, James. Liz, would you like to go through the petitioners and if the applicant and any ward councillors, if there is any?
I don't think they're on this one.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, we just have something from the petitioner. So it's just a submission from the Gatehill Residents Association on this one. Gatehill Residents Association objects to this planning application and supports the conclusions of the Conservation Officer and Case Officer in recommending that you refuse permission for this wraparound extension. Overbearing street scene. The property is set at an elevated position approximately 2 metres above the level of the road and has a narrower frontage than the other properties on the street. It is already set further forward than the other properties due to its unusual orientation. If approved, the original building would be lost and the new building would be overbearing on the street scene. New build not subordinate. As you can see from the submitted slide, James, sorry, can I just ask you just to show that last slide again?
Excuse me.
While I continue.
I'll click back in.
That's fine. I'll carry on reading. So it says, as you can see from the submitted slide, this application proposes to double the footprint at the front, add double-storey extensions across the entire front of the property. At the sides, extend the property on both sides. At the rear, add a 3-storey block at the rear as well as a single-storey. Roof, the colossal new roof structure would contain several crown roofs. These extensions cannot be considered to be subordinate and do not comply with policy set out in the local plan part 2. Hijack of non-owned land. We wish to point out that the site has been incorrectly redlined in that land owned by Gatehill East Estate Northwood Limited has been incorrectly included within the red line. We have been advised by neighbouring properties of Ravenswood Park that part of their land has also incorrectly been included within the red line. Privacy concerns. We also have great privacy concerns. Neighbour number 31 Gate Hill Road's privacy would be compromised as only windows in non-habitable rooms would be conditioned to be obscure glazed, not the habitable ones. Residents of Ravenswood Park would be totally dependent on the applicant not felling boundary trees and shrubs. Once mature trees are felled or die, any replacements would take years to grow to level required to provide privacy. Support officers' recommendation. So we agree with officers that this proposal would totally detract from the character and appearance of the original house and would be detrimental to the street scene within this area of special local character. We ask you to refuse permission. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, James, for resharing the presentation.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, James. Okay, I'll take this out. Councillor Morgan, you've got your hand up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. What a difference between items. Yeah, item 6, we have decent plans and a very thorough report, and this one complete opposite. Look, I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this. I'm sorry. I fully support the officer's recommendations in refusing this. It's an overdevelopment, and every part of it is not subordinate to the original property. And let's be honest, the original property is a lovely looking house. So yeah, I fully support and propose we go with officer's recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, I'll second that. That's it. Thank you.
Councillor Melvin.
Exactly the same. I agree with everything that Councillor Morgan has said, and I'm happy to go along with the officer's recommendation.
Fine.
Thank you, Chairman. And once again, I agree with my colleagues and the officer's recommendation for a refusal.
Thank you very much. I'll go straight to the vote if there's no one else. No? Okay, lovely. Councillor Dott.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, I support the officer recommendation for refusal.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hager.
Yes, for Chair.
Councillor Kaufman.
Yes, for Chairman.
Councillor Melvin.
Yes, for Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan proposed. Councillor Oswald seconded. Councillor Singh.
For Chairman, thank you.
And lastly but not least, Councillor Yarrow.
Support the officer's recommendations.
Thank you very much. Again, a full house, Liz. Do we agree there?
Yes, Chairman, that's unanimously refused. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so we go on to item 8, which is 28B King's End Ricelet. Would James Wells would like to take us out on this one, please?
Thank you, Chairman. As has been said, item 8, 28B King's End. This slide shows the location of the site. It's to the north of King's End, in the middle of a group of existing properties. The following slides show the existing site layout and the existing ground floor plan and the existing single-storey building. This shows the proposed ground floor plan, principally changes to facilitate access, and then the subject of the application, which is the proposed first floor, and that would lead to a much taller, effectively two-storey building, providing 2 additional flats in the first floor. There are various photographs showing the existing building. That's a fairly helpful photograph showing the scale of the existing building, the existing garage, access to the site, and then there are some photos showing existing local development. If I skip down to these slides 96 and onwards, as I understand it, have been provided by petitioners. And
that's correct, James. Sorry to interrupt. Yes, that is correct. So if, I can talk about those when I read out the petitioner's submission.
Thank you, Liz. Very helpful.
Leave the presentation on when you finish, please.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. And then, as I say, there's some information as well provided by the applicants and some information, I think, showing some possible changes which Liz will come to in due course. To help members, I'll just skip back to the proposed new building. I'll leave the presentation on, Chairman, as you've said. At the end of the presentation, Liz will read out representations from petitioners and the applicants. And if I could highlight to members the addendum sheet, which includes comments from the Ruislip Village Conservation Area Panel, updates to sections 3.1 and 7.07 of the committee report. Some of those changes refer to there being more flatted development in King's End, and therefore the addendum sheet includes a recommended fourth reason for refusal on that basis. And finally, it includes ward councillors' comments. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Sorry, with regards to the proposal, very briefly, Chairman, as I've explained, it's a proposed new first floor to provide 2 3-bed flats. As you'll see from the report, it would significantly alter the character of the existing building and is considered to fail to preserve or enhance the character and appearance of the Ruislip Village Conservation Area. In particular, it would adversely affect the neighbouring property at 26A King's End, which is located only approximately 13 metres to the east. Proposed first floor windows would give rise to overlooking and loss of privacy, and the new first floor would appear over dominant due to its proximity. Going on from there, the Highway Authority is satisfied that there wouldn't be any adverse highway impacts. However, the Trees and Landscaping Officer is concerned that the proposal fails to safeguard a protected tree, and one of the reasons for refusal refers to that concern. So in summary, the development is considered to be unacceptable because of its impact on the amenities of an adjoining property and the street scene. It would fail to preserve the character and appearance of the conservation area. It would fail to safeguard a protected tree, and it would further exacerbate the high level of flats in King's End. The application is therefore recommended for refusal. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, James. Liz, would you like to? You got
Yep.
petitioner and applicant and council.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you.
So James, if you want to just leave the presentation up, thank you, and then I'll refer to the photos a bit later on. So the first submission is from the petitioner. I am Galatia Strachan, the lead petitioner who lives in Ickenham Road, north of the application site. Local residents and petitioners overwhelmingly support the officer's recommendation for refusal. The original bungalow at 28B King's End, built in 1978 on land behind 28 King's End, was a modest single-storey bungalow not visible from the street in King's End. Over recent years, it has been progressively extended on all sides, resulting in a large, irregularly shaped footprint. Recently, the property has been divided into semi-detached bungalows known as 28B and 28C King's End. This proposal, if approved, will add another storey on a very large, irregularly shaped footprint, which with a much higher associated extensive roof structure. The proposals are totally unacceptable for the following reasons. The additional story will dominate the outlook for many surrounding properties. The site is landlocked behind properties 21, 23 and 23A Ickenham Road, the Methodist Church to the north, Poplars Close, 26A Kings End to the east, 1 Sovereign Close to the southeast, Elthorne and Osborne Courts, and 26 and 26B Kings End to the southwest and the south. The site is located over 45 metres from Kings End via a single-track gated driveway between Elthorne and Osborne Courts. According to Highways in the planning report reference 5740 AP 2008-2969, erection of 5 two-bedroom houses, the width of the axis varies along its width and is 3.2 metres wide at the thinnest point. This single car access with no dedicated footpath was intended for 1 or 2 cars, not for a block of flats. Residents adjacent to the property will feel hemmed in with their visual aspect, and the sense of openness currently enjoyed will be decimated. Properties at 21, 23 and 23A Ickenham Road are already curtailed by the presence of the Methodist Church with its excessively high roof for a single-storey building, the church hall and outbuildings, thus obscuring the outlook. And if James could just show the first 3 photos from slide 95. So 95, 96 and 97, please. Okay. So just those 3, James, if I may. Thank you very much. The proposed addition of a second story above the existing bungalows that will span the full width of the rear of several properties and will be located just a few feet away from rear garden fences is unacceptable. And I believe there are 4 photos now to show that. If you could just scroll down, James, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And there's one more photo, I believe, which is a scan. That's it, thank you. Photo 6 clearly shows that there will be many clear windows which will directly overlook into our gardens, patios and into the rear of properties, thus reducing the privacy we currently enjoy. Access to the site for emergency vehicles and refuse collection is also a concern. Section 7.1 of the 7.10 of the planning report, operational refuse requirements, is vague. It states refuse collection would continue with no change to the collection method applied to the existing residential units within the build. Appropriate bin storage area provisions are indicated, but currently refuse for 28B is left on the King's End pavement. The site layout existing plan sheet 06 submitted shows a bin store and cycle storage. That is simply not true. There are currently no bin stores or cycle storage. However, no site layout proposed plans have been submitted that should also include details of turning bay and areas marked for no parking. In conclusion, we strongly object to these proposals due to its unsuitable location, bulk and close proximity of boundaries to many adjoining properties, as well as it being visually intrusive, overbearing and overshadowing. It will be detrimental to the overall character and appearance of the immediate area. It will have an adverse effect on the residential amenities currently enjoyed by neighbouring residents. We feel the proposal does not respect design guides which cover key aspects to be considered, including build form, volume, elevation treatments, outlook and vehicular access. Subsequently, it would result in a cramped and unneighbourly form of development. Its inevitable bulk appearance will fail to harmonise within its setting and will not enhance or conserve the overall character of this part of Ruislip Village Conservation Area. We thank the Planning Committee members for listening, and we trust you will support the officer's recommendation to refuse the proposed development. James, if you want to just leave that on that slide, I'm just going to read the applicant's submission. So the applicant says, the council has raised the following 3 objections. Our answers are, first one is development would be detrimental to the character of Ruislip Village area. And their reply, our property lies between Kings End Road and Ickenham Road. Please note the Ickenham Road properties are over 45 metres away and the Kings End properties are 35 metres away, while Sovereign Close properties are over 30 metres away from our property. While walking on Kings End Road, our property is not even visible to anyone, mainly because Kings End Road has a row of 2-storey houses. Our property is dominated by a large modern flatted development, 28 Kings End Road, Osborne Court. Therefore, property can only be seen can be seen only between the pocket view gap between numbers 28 and 30 King's End Road. See attached photo 1, which is what you can see now. This fact is confirmed by section 7.03 of the council's internal consultees report. Evidently, behind our property there is a huge building block of Ruislip Methodist Church. Therefore, even after constructing 2 flats on the first floor, our property would be primarily overshadowed by the protruding church building. Similarly, while walking on Ickenham Road, our property is not visible. However, due to the positioning of the church, a pocket view of our property can be seen between the gap of the church and 21 Ickenham Road. See photo number 2. James, if you could just show the next one. This fact is confirmed by section 7.03 of Council's internal consultees report. Even after building 2 flats on the first floor, except for this pocket view, no narrow angle, no one could see our development, mainly because the proposed development height would be in line with a series of large 2-storey dwellings on Ickenham Road. In addition, our development would be inconspicuous in comparison to the sprawling building block of the church. There is also a pocket view between houses numbers 1 and 2 of Sovereign Close. See attached photo number 3. Please note Sovereign Close is a cul-de-sac of over 10 houses and therefore no pedestrian goes there. As our property is a backland development, it is surrounded by large mature trees, which provide natural curtain to the visibility of our development for people living in the surrounding areas. We strongly feel our proposed development would be imperceptible to have any adverse impact on the overall harmony of Ruislip Village character. Point number 2, the proposed development would be detrimental to 26A King's End House by reasons of overlooking and loss of privacy. Our response. In order to address these concerns, we have amended window locations for the flat above 28B King's End, which is facing 26, 26A and 26B King's End, and 1 and 3 Sovereign Close, photo 4. Thank you, James. The following changes have been made. Lounge window reduced to half. The small window is removed, facing 26 and 26B. Master bedroom window facing 26 and 26B reduced to half. Small window facing 26A removed. 2 bathroom windows facing 26A replaced with sky windows. Second bedroom facing 26A, window reduced to half. Small window removed, facing 1 and 3 Sovereign Close. Third bedroom window replaced with sky window, facing 1 and 3 Sovereign Close. Kitchen side window removed, facing 1 and 3 Sovereign Close. And the last point, the TPO 658, which protects a cedar tree. And their reply, the subject tree is about 8 metres away from the property. Attached photo 5. Do we have a photo of that? No? Okay, sorry, James, we don't seem to have that photo. Apologies. So the subject tree is about 8 metres away from the property. As the proposed development is on the first floor of the existing property, we feel it may not result into any digging. In any event, we are willing to obtain a tree report from an expert confirming the proposed development would not harm the cedar tree. Conclusion. Given the height and roof character of the proposed development, which would be quite similar to the nearby properties, it would not be incongruous to the village appearance. Since our site can be seen only from the 2 narrow angles from King's End Road and Ickenham Road, it cannot be detrimental to the character and visual amenities of the Ruislip village. Considering that we have drastically changed the windows design, our development will not be intruding on the privacy of surrounding properties at 26, 26A and 26B King's End and 1 and 3 Sovereign Close. In order to validate our assertions, committee members should visit the property and surrounding area to see how discreet the site is. In fact, in order to see the house, one has to stop and make a deliberate attempt to see it through the narrow gap of 2 buildings. We wonder how such unnoticeable development can be detrimental to the village character. And that was the submission from the applicant. We just have a short statement from Ward Councillor Cawthorne, who says, firstly, I wholeheartedly support the officer recommendation for refusal. This proposal would result in overdevelopment within the conservation area and would be very much in conflict with the visual appearance of the built environment, which is a characteristic of this location in all its distinctiveness. It would result in an unacceptable loss of residential amenity. At the same time, I would like to draw members' attention to some factual errors in the officer's report, which is important to be aware of. Without preempting any decision-making, the statements contained in the supporting officer's report constitute the starting point for the local planning authority in assessing the planning balance of future applications. It is therefore essential that they are accurate. Mrs. Sue Brown has already drawn to the attention of James Roger that the percentage of flat development in King's End already exceeds the 10% that the planning inspectorate previously deemed an appropriate upper limit. This has been acknowledged in previous appeals, including that for 16 to 18 King's End, APP R5510A0820788969 in November 2008. The correct figure is 13%. I'm grateful to Mr. Roger for revisiting this matter ahead of committee. The report incorrectly states the figure is currently 8%. The report also fails to reference the objections of the Ruislip Conservation Panel. I thank Planning Committee members for listening and will leave you to your deliberations. Okay, that's all the submissions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. James, can you take the presentation down for me, please? James Rogers, do you want to come back at those last few points that the Ward Councillor made?
Yes, it's quite simple. I can confirm that in the addendum, there is a fourth refusal reason concerning the 10% rule. I did check the 10% rule before the meeting, hence I'm convinced that the 10% rule is breached, as has been highlighted by third parties. But as I mentioned, it's covered in the addendum through a fourth refusal reason. So if members are happy to agree the officer recommendation, it would be with the fourth reason in the addendum. Thank you, Chairman.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you. Councillor Morgan, we'll take you up first with your hand up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Look, we can't take plans ad hoc as being proposed here. Suddenly crossing out windows saying, "Oh, well, that's not going to happen," and we're going to put a skylight there, and we're going to move doors here. We don't work like that. We can't work like that. This is an overdevelopment. We've already breached the 10% rule. We don't want any more. There's overlooking. Look, the officers have got it here. All four reasons for refusal, and I'm very happy to support and go with the officers' recommendation. So I therefore propose.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morgan.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Yeah, that's fine, Councillor. Yeah, I'll take that. But Councillor Singh had his hand up.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, the officers. They explain everything nicely, and I fully support the officers' recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Councillor Oswald?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, well, actually, Councillor Morgan's more or less said it all, certainly about the 10%. But this is King's End. It's a lovely avenue of properties that's been gradually eroded by flatted development, and I think it's such a shame. Little bit of history. My dad, when he was alive and working, he did quite a bit of interior work on some of these properties, and he always commented on how nice the houses were in King's End itself. I'm quite happy, Chairman, to second the recommendation if it hasn't already been done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Ward. Thank you, Councillor Oswald. Okay, I'll go straight to the vote. Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Chairman. For the officer recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Hager.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kaufman.
For officer's recommendation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Melvin.
Yes, I support the officer's recommendation.
Proposed by Councillor Morgan. Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, agree, Chairman.
Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chairman. I fully support the officers' recommendations.
And Councillor Yarrow seconded. Those are
Agree the officer's recommendations.
Yeah, no, you don't have to say anything because you seconded. You already spoke.
Oh, I know, but I like to hear my own voice.
And we all like to hear it too. Full house, Liz, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Again, can those who have their hands on the computer screen, can they put them down, please, for me? Thank you. Next item is item number 9. I'm sure members, we know about this, and it is such a small change. James, do you want to just do a quick presentation of it? Because it's, I think it's just really changing the colour, isn't it?
Very briefly, I feel I should just make a quote from Tommy Cooper and leave it at that.
Okay, fine. We'll leave it at that. Does any of the members wish to have a presentation about this? No. Okay, Councillor Dot, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a very straightforward application and would not cause any harm to character of the area. So I propose the officer recommendation for that.
Thank you. Councillor Singh?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm the second.
That'd be fantastic. I'll go to the vote for everybody. Councillor Dot proposed. Councillor Hagger?
For, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kaufman?
For the recommendation, Chairman.
Councillor Melvin?
For the recommendation, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan?
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Oswald?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Singh seconded. Councillor Yarrow?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Liz, that's again everybody voting for officer's recommendation. Is that agreed?
That's correct. Unanimously approved.
Thank you very, very much. Next item is item 10. James, do you want to take us out on this one, please?
Thank you, Chairman. This is item 10, Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, Oakdale Road in Northwood. Excuse me, this slide shows the location of the site quite near the new school in Northwood off of Potter Street. These slides show the existing floor plans and existing elevations, and then this slide shows in the lower part proposed development, and this slide shows the proposed changes to the elevations. If I just go back, first the photographs. There are a few photographs showing the interior of the building, but then a few others showing the building we've just seen. Some of them are quite close up, but there are a few longer views. So hopefully that's of assistance to councillors. If I go back to slide 23, 1, 2, 3, just to show the proposed elevations. The application is for conversion of part of the ground floor to form 2 studio flats. It's an existing place of worship, and the proposal, as I say, is to form 2 studio flats and for elevational alterations to fenestration. The studio flats would only be occupied by ministers connected to the charity. Due to their nature of their pastoral work, they visit other congregations, and so the use of the studios would only be for part of the week. There are existing windows in the east elevation that would be retained and would give an outlook to each of the flats, with existing garage doors and entrance door replaced by windows. 3 existing windows in the west facing elevation are currently blocked out. They would be opened up to provide new windows to serve the internal corridor giving access to the flats, and they could be conditioned to be obscure glazed and non-opening. The proposal does not include any alterations to the scale of the building, and therefore it's not considered to have any impact upon light, outlook or privacy. The internal floor space of the studios is adequate to meet national standards and the requirements of our policy DMHB 16. However, the development doesn't provide any external amenity space, private amenity space for the flats, but because of the proposed use by visiting ministers for part of the week only, this is considered to be acceptable. The application is recommended for approval, subject to a legal obligation to restrict the use of the studios for the occupation by visiting ministers as proposed, and to prevent any future sale on the open private housing market. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, James. Yes, Councillor Morgan, you had your hand up first, and then Councillor Hagger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarification, it's actually Northwood Hills, not Northwood, and it's practically opposite the new Northwood School here on the Pinner Road, and the UTC school that's in Potter Street. Could the officers just please confirm if there's any soundproofing between Studio 2 and the motor repair shop that's attached to the building? The last thing we want is having to put time limits on the motor repair shop to say you can't operate between or before 10 o'clock in the morning or after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to go for the officer's recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I don't think we can actually get the officer's answer that one. I don't think we can actually curtail the uses of a previous business, but go on.
Could I just chip in? We're uncertain about sound installation, but for the avoidance of doubt, proposed condition 5 in the officer's recommendation requires the submission of information in connection with insulation. So that hopefully, councillor, covers your concerns. Yes, even the part-time use of a studio flat next to a car workshop could be interesting with regards to noise.
Thank you. I think we also need a thumbs up button on here, so just hands up one. Councillor Hagger, would you like to?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned. I mean, I've hardly thought that the studios would only be occupied by ministers connected to the charity. I think that's really, really important. I wondered whether we could secure it in any more tighter, or whether we feel that's tight enough. And also, just a little bit of an explanation, because I can't quite understand this, but on page 17, it's probably just me not having the head knowledge behind this, but on page 17, it does actually say that the applicant has failed to agree that permission should be personal to Kingdom Hall Trust on behalf of the, and therefore proposal will only be occupied by itinerant church ministers. So does that mean that they're saying that they're not agreeing that, but we're asking them to? Sorry, I just wanted to get that clear in my head. I couldn't.
If it has failed. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hagger. James Rogers, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah. So the that's a clause 4. Paragraph number 4 in the recommendation. That's only advising members of a potential refusal reason if they refuse to sign the legal agreement. But I just thought before members make a decision, may help to explain a bit more detail why we think a legal agreement's required. So although we are generally happy with the proposals, the studios are single aspect with glazing onto a pavement, which is, we think, is acceptable in this case because it's a kind of limited use and there's no external amenity space. So we feel that on balance the proposal is acceptable for the use proposed, but we'd probably have concerns if it was general residential use. So that's why we feel that in this case the proposal is acceptable, but only as proposed. And to ensure it is as proposed, in this case we need to have the legal agreement.
Fantastic. So
Thank you.
we're built and braces.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to second that then, Chair. Thank you
very much. Councillor Singh, you've got your hand up. Do you wish to speak, or?
Thank you, Chairman. I fully support the officer's recommendations.
Thank you very much. I'll go straight to the vote now. Councillor Dott?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Hacken seconded. Councillor Kaufman?
For officers' recommendations, Chairman.
Councillor Melvin?
For the officer's recommendations, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan proposed. Councillor Oswald?
Yeah, for, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Singh? Yeah, okay. Councillor Yarrow?
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Singh, can you put your little hand down if you can, please? Thank you. I agree that it's all and you, James, unless you've got something to say. Right, okay, full house again, Liz. Yeah.
Yes, Chairman, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Singh's hand has popped up again. I just noticed.
No, sorry.
That's the yeah.
Thank you.
That's the least of our troubles of any of that for the technology. Agenda item 11 is just for noting. I don't need to have a seconder or a proposal on this, do I, Liz? No.
No, Chairman. It's just for noting by the committee, unless anyone has any comments.
Noted, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I'll wait for you to take the live feed off, and we're going to item 12. Thank you very much for watching, you those who have, and good night to you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, if you can just remain on mute for a second, I'll stop the live streaming.